The basic cybernetic frame was something like starting point, goal, self-correcting process. That's it. But I realized maybe, that the semantic description of that structure was a story. There's a story, when you tell a story, you have to say, well, I was here, and then you have to say I was going somewhere. A little kid might tell you about their first day going to kindergarten. It's not much of a story, although it's a pretty big deal for the little kid, you know. Well, I was at home with Mom, and then I took her hand, and we walked to the kindergarten, and I was afraid, but I was excited, and, I got there, and I had a pretty good day. And you give him a pat on the head, and you think, that's a pretty good story for a little kid. He might tell a slightly different story. I might say I was walking to kindergarten, and I was kind of scared, but I was excited. I had my mom's hand, and then all of a sudden this big dog jumped at me at the fence and really scared me, And a little kid will get emotional if you recount something like that. And then he'll say, he might say one of two things. He might say, I got so afraid I had to take Mom's hand, and she was upset too, and she was crying, and we had to go home. And then he doesn't go to school for the week, and then when he goes to school, he has a panic attack, and then his mother martyrs herself so that he can have a panic attack for a tremendous long period of time, and then, it's just a complete bloody mess. And that's an Oedipal narrative, by the way. Or maybe the other story would be, I was scared of the dog. The dog's a pretty big thing for a kid, and it is a wolf after all, so, that's not nothing. But I took my mom's hand, and she gave me a pat, and she said, you think you can do this? And I think you can. And so I got myself together and went to kindergarten. That's a better story, that one. That's a better story. It's a more interesting story. And it's interesting because it's a meta story. The story of just getting from point A to B, that's a good story. You want to hear about that. You want people to tell you how they get from point A to point B all the time. Because then, you know where point A is, and that's useful, and you know where a good point B might be. And believe me, man, you want to know that more than anything else. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because it thought the other side of the road was better. Unless it's a daft chicken, and that's a possibility, because it's chicken after all. Well, they're smarter than you think they are, but why do you go somewhere that you're not? Because it's better than where you are. Unless you're aiming down, and then maybe you want to go somewhere worse, and you want to take people with you. But other than that, generally speaking, you're aiming up. Well, it might be a micro up, but it's not usually. That's the thing. So here's a way of understanding the narrative schema that we lay on the world. So the first is, there's a point A and a point B, and the narrative is a description of the starting point and the end point and the process to get there. And then a better narrative meta-narrative is a description of the process that occurs when that structure decomposes because it's no longer valid, a failure, a descent into something like chaos as a consequence, and then the reconstitution of a new narrative. And that's paradise, the fall, paradise. That's a very basic narrative, and that's the thing to imitate. Not just the narrative, the process by which narratives are generated and repaired. Okay, so now let's see if we can make that concrete, a little more concrete. Imagine you're writing a paper. Well, let's take that apart. Let's be precise about this as much as we can. Let's say you're typing first. Okay, so what does it mean that you're typing? Well, you're thinking, hypothetically, although I've read essays that would indicate otherwise, but hypothetically. So what are you doing? Well, you're moving your fingers, right? So this writing is dependent on embodiment. And it was really hard to generate these fingers, right? So there's that whole evolutionary process we were talking about, lurking at the bottom of this. And you've practiced typing. Let's say you're an expert typist, and that means you've built little automated machines in the back, generally of your left hemisphere, that took a lot of mass practice so that you could create these automatized motor output structures that you could disinhibit while you're thinking, because that's what you're doing. You're not exactly activating these motor movements. You're preparing them for release and then disinhibiting it, and then they run ballistically, which means they run deterministically at that level. And so at the micro level, what you're doing isn't thinking. At the micro level, what you're doing are disinhibiting motor output systems. Okay, but then on top of that, you say, well, there's an overlay of abstract cognition. You're typing, well, what are you typing? Letter? Yes. A word? Yes. And you type the letter in relationship to the word. You're typing a phrase, right? You're thinking about a phrase, but not just a phrase. A sentence, but not just a sentence. Paragraph. The sequencing of the sentence within that paragraph. The paragraphs within the context of an essay. And maybe if you're writing a book, then the essay in relationship to the book. You're doing that, all of that at once. And so that's a series of nested narratives. So a cybernetic motor schema at the bottom, and then narratives. Because I could say, well, why are you typing the letter? To type the word. Why are you typing the word? To type the phrase. To type the sentence. To type the paragraph. To complete the sequencing of paragraphs. To write the chapter. To write the book. Why are you writing the book? Well, let's say you're a scientific researcher. You're writing a book about animal cognition. Why are you doing that? Well, maybe you're a professor, researcher, scientist, teacher. Well, why are you doing that? Well, maybe you're a good citizen, maybe you want to mentor people, maybe you want to make the world a better place. Well, why are you doing that? Because you're imitating a divine ideal. Well, what do I mean by divine? Well, I mean supraordinate or deep. You can look at it either way. Well, why divine? Because that's how you experience it. It's not a proposition. You might say, well, what does that have to do with divine? The divine? Well, have it your way. Use whatever word you want. Deep, profound, superordinate. It doesn't matter. It's all in the same semantic space. Then you think, well, what does that mean practically? Well, that's a good question. You might also ask yourself, what does the dissolution of that mean, and what does antipathy towards that mean? Those are all useful questions. I came across many of these ideas because I was trying to understand the action of individual concentration camp guards in Auschwitz. And I was trying to understand what I would have to be like to do that. And that isn't something people usually do, because they assume if they were in Nazi Germany, they'd be like, Schindler. It's like, no, Schindler was like Schindler. There was like one of him. That isn't what you would have been like. In all likelihood, you would have been willfully blind or participating. And you think, not me. And all that means is if you think that, then definitely you. So, Dr. Dawkins sent me a paper last week in preparation for a discussion that we're going to have tomorrow. And it was a very interesting paper, and I think I read it about 25 years ago, and he said any functioning animal has to be a microcosm, a model of the environment within which it finds itself. Well, that's true of us. And so when you look at the night sky and that sense of awe grips you and calls something out of you, right, to respond to your encounter with the infinite, even your encounter with mortality, your encounter with finitude and limitation, all of that in relationship to the infinite. That sense of awe is also the calling forth of something out of you that can respond to the challenge of that infinite. Well, that's the microcosm within. It's a reflection of the structure of the cosmos itself. That's the divine ideal. And we either imitate that, or we fail to imitate that, or we pursue the opposite path. Those are the options, and it's given our technological power and our capacity for wholesale atrocity, it's time we woke up and realized it. Thank you very much.
Anh hay mơ mộng những thứ xa xôi, không màng về tình ái muôn nơi. Sống cho là trọn kiếp đây thôi, đâu quan tâm gì chuyện đời. Thế mà lại ngâm tương tư, ông tầm bà mũi xa tơ. Đêm nằm trộm nhớ mơ mơ về ai. Thì ra anh yêu rồi, từ ánh mắt nụ cười, từ đôi môi gọi mưa sao xuyến lòng anh. Thì ra mê em rồi, ngày hay đêm mong lười, chỉ nghĩ đến em thôi. Đó là do anh đã yêu rồi, anh đã yêu rồi, anh đã yêu rồi. Anh đã yêu rồi, anh đã yêu rồi, anh đã yêu em mất rồi. Anh hay mơ mộng những thứ xa xôi, không màng về tình ái muôn nơi. Sống cho là trọn kiếp đây thôi, đâu quan tâm gì chuyện đời. Thế mà lại ngâm tương tư, ông tầm bà mũi xa tơ. Đêm nằm trộm nhớ mơ mơ về ai. Thì ra anh yêu rồi, từ ánh mắt nụ cười, từ đôi môi gọi mưa sao xuyến lòng anh. Thì ra mê em rồi, ngày hay đêm.
Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get. Don't let them guide your life towards regret. I'll fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push me to my best. So treat the worst of times just like a test. If only I could go back in time, I'd tell myself that everything will end up alright. Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits, don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open minds, people can change your life. A few friends with intent can help you feel alive. Find a passion, take some action, and with a little time, just be patient, make a statement, try to enjoy your life. They'll try to kick you while you're down. They wanna rise up while you drown. They wanna fill your head with doubt. They're silently scared that you'll figure it out. I'll make it look like I'm losing, won't bother hiding my bruises. And when they finally think you're wounded, then it's your chance I make some progress, I can see that they compare. I think everyone's against me, maybe something in the air. Am I paranoid? I swear a void is forming and they're scared I walk a